I then fell pregnant again and had my daughter. So at the age of 27, I had 2 under 2s. They're 15 months apart. That and hospitality, complete nightmare.
The Lucy B duo, what we're going to call ourselves, I was fed up of getting messages for her to me. So I'd ring her up and say, Luce, listen, I don't know what's going on, but your DJ's cancelling tonight. You've got a booking for 10. And she said, well, actually, Luce, someone's messaged me about a boat hire. I watched her go from a waitress to Dizzy Diner to the owner to a partner of one of our friends, Joe Courtney, to launching a festival. It's just an aspirational journey. And she made such difficult life choices. So it's going to be such an interesting lesson. Like to know something that's made you smile recently. So tell us something that's made you smile, happy, excited.
Well, I've obviously met someone, haven't I? So that's probably the right answer, I guess.
Justin gets a little heads up.
He gets a mention. He said to me today, do I get a mention? I thought, maybe.
Well, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I suppose for us, I mean, this is interesting because it's Lucy B, interviews Lucy B, which has always been one. And potentially one day we'll have a show together. It would be lovely. I would like to start really for people that don't know your journey right at the beginning. Go back as far as you can remember. Were you employed? Did you have a job? What was the first business? And take us on that journey with you.
Okay. So from school?
Yeah, let's go.
School. Okay. So, that's right. Went to secondary school in Chislehurst. Carried on through to sixth form. When I was 14, I got a part-time job in a restaurant in Beckenham called Dizzy's Diner, which I worked at for a considerable amount of years. Finished sixth form and then went to university and did a business degree. Then did a 4-year degree, so did a year in the industry in recruitment in an office. Soon worked out that office life wasn't for me. Never was on time for a start, and just working under people, and I just think being too creative really to be managed. Finished university, worked in an events company, sort of freelancing, whilst I decided that I wanted to buy the restaurant that I worked in, much to my mum and dad's disgust, because that's not what they wanted for me. But raised the money to do so and bought it in 2008. The restaurant was in a bit of a mess. The books weren't right. So me and a school friend went into business together. And we turned the business around, quadrupled the profits. And in that period of doing that, I had my children. 5 years on from that, my business partner wanted to sell. I didn't want to sell because it was a job that, although it was hard at the time, it worked around the children. So I didn't sell. I ended up buying him out. And then I did the business for another 5 years on my own. And then, really, really random story, I was doing a delivery morning, which I never ever did because we had a manager, and a guy walked in and said, "Are you the owner?" And I said, "Yeah." And I always sort of stumble when people ask me, I think, "Oh no, are you going to complain or moan at me, or have you got anything bad to say?"
I'm the pot wash.
Yeah. I said, "Oh yeah, I am." And he said, "I want to buy the business." And it went from there really. And I ended up selling to him. In the process of that, Joe Courtney, my business partner, got in touch with me and wanted to start an event because alongside the restaurant, I was doing events as well, but on a lot smaller scale. We met in his pub and we threw some ideas out there. And initially it was going to be a tribute festival with tribute soul acts. I knew the success from the soul nights I was doing at the restaurant in a smaller capacity, that there was a need for it, a want for it. And we then came up with Soul Town Festival. Well, I was driving out of David Lloyd's and I was like, Soul, Motown, Soul. And I was like, Soul Town. And I rung Joe and I said, got the business name. And then that's when it launched, 2018. And then, yeah, that's the story.
Take me back to when you had the children.
Yep.
Hospitality, long days, long nights.
Hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
And talk me through that journey with your partner at the time and what that was like and the struggles and the rewards of kind of going through that process and how you coped.
Yep. So me and my ex-husband, the father of my children, met when I was 19. I did a season in Cos, working in a bar.
Amazing.
And we met there on the strip. At 25, I fell pregnant and we were due to get married in the August, so which we got married. I then fell pregnant again and had my daughter. So at the age of 27, I had 2 under 2s. They're 15 months apart. That and hospitality, complete nightmare. And it was a struggle, major struggle. There was, neither of them slept. I was up through the night, through the day, then going to work of the night, and then up through the night, through the day. And that was continuous for years. So,
And do you think you struggled mentally in that stage?
1,000,000%. And it's only now I can reflect back on how hard that was and how I wouldn't be able to cope with that now, because I was surviving on little sleep. I had 2 babies, both in nappies. You know, Henry toddled in the labour ward when I had Poppy, and the lady next to me said, "Oh, is that her cousin?" I said, "No, that's her brother." And he was literally like a baby, just walking with a dummy hanging out of his mouth. And I thought, this is going to be a journey.
Well,
So-
yeah, I mean, you're very versed in that.
Yeah. Yeah, been there, done that.
And I think
Tough.
I feel sad sometimes about it, because that whole first 5 years of their life, admittedly, is a blur. It was more, got to get through this, I've got the business to run. You know, I was taking them to Bookers. Had a 1 and a 2-year-old. I'm taking them to Bookers and doing this and taking them to meetings, and it was a nightmare. I'll never forget, I had the work phone for the restaurant and someone rang to make a booking for that evening, and they were in the car screaming, and I had to say, "I'm really sorry. I've got my children." And she was like, "Don't worry." And this was about midday. Anyway, at 7 o'clock, she came in for her booking. But I think my ex-husband got caught he's a taxi driver, he got caught at the airport, couldn't make it back. So I had to take the children to work with me. And I think at this time they must have been maybe 2 or 3. And I sort of propped them up on the bar stools, I mean, which is terrible parenting, I admit it. And this lady walked in and she said, "Oh gosh, you've still got those children. How do you do this?" And it stuck with me, and I thought, I don't really know, to be honest. You just go into robotic mode where you're just, but also got the pressures of trying to run a business and make it a success, but also try to be the best mum you can be, you know, with the cards you dealt with.
And of course the word guilt comes in as well.
It's a big
Massive,
thing.
isn't it?
Still a big thing now. It's still, and when I sold the restaurant, I was adamant that I still wanted a job that enabled me to do every school run, pickups, because my parents weren't able to do that, but wanted more flexibility and not so stressful. I mean, I know, obviously, Lucy knows that I have now gone back into restaurants, which I'm not
Crazy.
sure. Absolutely mental. But we had a vision, and we had to execute it. So yeah.
Where does the drive come from?
I don't know. My parents have always brought us up to be ambitious and driven. They're both head teachers, or were both, they've just retired. So completely different industry to anything I've ever known. I'm probably not as academic as they would have liked. The drive, I don't know, it's just in you, isn't it? And for people with drive, you can't ever understand people that don't have it. I can't get my head around someone that just doesn't want to be the best all the time at everything they do. But that comes at a cost of your mental health and, you know.
The sacrifice, yeah, of course. I think, I mean, we've known each other, many years, but I think seeing the journey of, you know, those develops from what you've created with Soul Town and Joe, and then creating now the restaurants, and what do you think for you is the next progression path?
So now we're working on, we've hit sort of the peak with the festival, and it's at the max it can be where it is, and we don't ever want to move it. But we're looking at upscaling it a lot now, because we've realised that we've sort of, the model is right now. Lucy, you know, obviously we've been through bar staff shortages, you know.
We've all been there.
We've had an adventure,
we had a great PIMS bus one year.
We did, yeah.
I did run that well, not
You're
gonna
great
lie.
at pulling the pine. So we know the model's right now. We've got where we need to be. So now we're going to take the festival to the north. We're looking at opportunities in Australia. We've just branched out to Portugal. We're just testing the waters there. So that's where it's at. And I love it. Like, I wake up every morning and I love my job because the opportunities are endless and it works around my children. You know, they're at secondary school now, but I still do most school runs and pickups because I love it. And I'm there,
Amazing.
you know, I like being there.
The school mum, that's not my strong point. It wasn't Gary's strong point either.
What was that?
The school run. Oh, in the beginning, fair.
No, I was
fair.
the school run, wasn't I?
So that was 6, yeah.
No, every morning. Well, you was young when we took you to school, so that got rid of you most of the day.
Excellent. 6 hours. But yeah,
6 hours a piece.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not one for small talk in the playground. I'll be honest.
So with the festivals, is your vision to maybe own one of the sites eventually?
We went from the council site. No, it would be to just branch it out as much as we can and diversify the brand, really. We're looking at all sorts of aspects. So we bring a lot of acts in from America. So we were discussing it this morning. So they're here in the UK. They do one show and then they leave. Yeah. So we're like, actually, we need to maximise them whilst they're here.
Yeah.
And then we're doing a thing at the minute, just coming up with a concept called Soul Town Presents. So we'll take that to the Manchester Apollo, to the O2 Arena, to the Indigo O2 and do sort of smaller gigs. And we're also discussing, which I think is going to come into play in 2027, I think we're going to do a show at the O2 Arena whereby it's basically a festival but inside, because there'll be a lot of people that want to see that lineup but don't want to go to my parents would never go to a festival.
Yeah.
It's like would be my mum's worst nightmare.
And I think the festival tone is dependent on your experience of festivals, right?
Yeah.
So like if you go to Wilderness, it's a very different experience to going to Soul Town.
Yeah.
So, but that's in everybody's generic. Whereas if it was a show, you're right. Like the boxes are there. There's the Amex Lounge. There's lots of different parts of it. It's more.
I just think it's a whole different market.
Yeah, definitely.
And for brand building, it's great because we're exposed to the O2 database.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's just upscaling really. You know, it's just built as it's gone along. So we've changed the concept this year again. Soul Town last year was 2 days. We're moving it to 1 day. It's a 1 day festival now, 14,000. And the Sunday we're about to launch a new family festival it's being launched tomorrow. So it's the idea behind it's going to be the first UK's first all-inclusive family festival. So the children get the rides, the music, the food, the drink, the ice cream, everything. So for a parent, it's great. You pay the ticket price and that's it. You don't pay any more money when you're in there.
Wow.
So that will be on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah. We'll
also, it's a nice give back if you've got.
Yeah, I think so. We tried to launch Soul Town over the 2 days and it worked from a financial outlook, but we allowed families on the Sunday and we couldn't control the teenagers. Sort of parents going one way, teenagers going the other. So it just didn't work from what we wanted to build. So we changed the concept for this year. So we'll see.
Exciting.
So just another festival.
There's another one. We've got O2 shows, festivals. It's super exciting.
So it's good.
Would you want your children involved in the business? And how did you, as a mum and a business owner, what's that feeling around that? Is it like, I'm building these for you? It would be great to succession plan.
Never really thought about it, really, to be honest. I don't think either of them would go into it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I never intended to go. This was never the journey I set out. Definitely not the one my parents wanted me to go down. So I don't really know. They show a lot of interest in it. They ask a lot of questions, more so, what have you earned? What can we get out of this? What's our game?
How many holidays?
Now they're teenagers. They've worked out that the better I do, the better they do. So, but will they go into events? I think most likely not. I think my son will go into something sport-wise. My daughter, I'm not sure. She's very much like me, though. She made my son a cake on Friday. And she said, Mum, I think there's nothing like this out there, is there? And I said, no, it's not. It's like this cookie stack with loads of stuff. And she was like, right, I'm going to start a business, Mum. Can we go to Booker's? Can we get this? And I just looked at her and I thought, I've created this monster.
Yeah,
She's just me.
I love that. So was it always when you went working for events and then working at Dizzy's and then kind of progressing, buying the business as a kind of buyout, was there ever a job that you had that was 9 to 5 office, like those types of constraints where you felt like this is just not for me, I'm unemployable?
Yeah. So for a year, I did a year in the industry in a university, and I did it in a recruitment agency. So I did their marketing and events. And on the first week, the client took us on a yacht in Poole. And I thought, oh, great, I don't mind this. This is lovely. But then I soon realised that was sort of one bonus, and it just 9 till 5 wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. And then I graduated in the June, and then from June to December, I freelanced for another events company, but more corporate. Just
wasn't for you.
I can't do office talk. I'm not a small talker. Never have been.
So describe the feeling when you stepped away from that and you thought, I'm going to buy Dizzy's. That's not, I mean, it's an entrepreneurial flair for sure. But what was that experience like? How did you think? I mean, you're going from no safety net at all.
Yeah.
And you're going against the grain because your parents are over here. They're like, Lucy should be a teacher. And
they were completely
feeling?
Against the grain. It didn't help that it was in 2008. So we were in a recession at the time. The owners valued the business at a certain amount. I then went to an accountant, and because their books were sort of all over the place, the accountant said to me, I wouldn't give you a penny for that business, but I was working there, so I knew the trade it was doing.
And do you think at that time in your life, when you had the children after you bought Dizzy's?
Yep. So
then you fall pregnant and you think, what does this look like? And you just, there was never a time that you kind of had a wobble that said, oof, or a failure, because that's quite an interesting part for people to listen into, is when was the failures and how did you overcome that? Especially
the minute I had children, the business started to decline. It was clear the figures were declining. I couldn't do both and do both as successful as I wanted to. I was there a little bit less. Admittedly, I used to be there sort of 6-7 nights a week. I dropped down to 5 and then 4. And you could see the gap. The minute I brought in a manager, the service, the reviews, everything started to go wrong. But I couldn't physically do both. And then obviously I fell pregnant again, so I had 2. And then,
Oh, stress.
But you'll never find a job that can accommodate me to be there during the day, which is what I needed to do, because we wouldn't have had any childcare. My parents were still full-time working. Their dad was still full-time working. So to be able to work and contribute to the household, I had to do this job that was going to accommodate that. So had I been in a better financial situation and not had to work, I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but then I have to work.
So what I'm hearing from an outside is actually having the children is probably why you've been so successful. Because you had the demand. If you didn't have had that, it would have been an option.
Yeah.
In that position, you'd bought the business, you had the children, there was one road and you were on it because there was no choice.
I always knew and have known the life I want to live and the life I want to give the children, the house we want to live in, the holidays we want to go on. And it's just not a compromise. It's just a given that that's what I'm going to provide for them. And I do.
So we always found that if you was to say to Lucy, was business ever discussed at home, she'd say every meal was a board meeting. Because when Rita and I were running the business, and I was quite conscious on day one to take the children and the family on the same journey. So it meant that we didn't leave them so much.
Yeah, which is good.
But then because your work becomes your hobby, your passion, and of course every mealtime is the first time you're together. And the one common thing that you have, apart from being a family, of course, is business. So you end up talking about it. So with us, it was boats and bars and functions and breakdowns and new boats and so every single meal. So by exposing the family to it, it's quite a nice thing to do.
Yeah. I want both the children to be driven.
Yeah.
So
they probably know way more than you give them credit for in terms of it's your daily life. But being around that as a child, for me looking in, I don't remember anything else but those talks. And the reason I'm so automatic when I think about business is because of those learnings. And I sit there now and think, well, actually, the Mother's Day, we made a promise, I think I was around 14, said, no talk about city cruises. Don't hear about it. Having a bit of a wobble. I don't care. Let's talk about mum. So we sat at the dinner table, 4 of us, and we were like, literally no conversation. Like, what do you talk about? Because it was every day. Like, you're living it. And I suppose in your life, you do. I mean, it's second nature now. But if it's not the restaurant, it's the festival, and then you're talking to acts. And actually, the years you've been running, it's just your life.
Yeah, they don't know any different. Yeah. They don't remember the old restaurant days.
Yeah.
They're a bit of a blur for them, but the festival they've been part of, and it's lovely, really. Like when I take them up onto the main stage and we have a selfie every year and with the crowd behind us, it's a proud moment for me, and I hope they feel that. We don't really talk about it, but I hope they feel it. So yeah.
Oh, they will. That's for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's special, isn't it?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs looking at this are going to want to know, is there any tips that you can give any budding business people out there as well?
Yeah, and parents in business, like, some tips and coping strategies and how you got through it.
Yeah, it's crazy when I think back, because obviously we were 3 years into our business, we were hit with COVID, which was obviously absolutely awful for everyone, but for a business in the hospitality industry was just got to keep going. With every low, there's 5 highs. That's what I always think. It's very much like that, but as we get on and we're more experienced, it's becoming an easier ride. I feel like Joe and I have done a lot of the hard work now and taken the risks and taken on the stress, that now it's a hell of a lot easier than it used to be. So,
is there an exit strategy or a succession strategy?
Yeah, there is. So we're looking, we're in talks at the minute to upscale the business, probably 4 times to where we are now. And then there'll sort of be some sort of extra strategy within 5 to 10 years to sell, I think. So, which we'll probably need to, because it's a soul festival. So I don't know how many acts we've got left.
Yeah. Keep running it round. Meeting someone new and, being single mum and all of that journey. Was there a point you thought, that's it, up?
Yeah, I think I think one of the hardest things I've had to do in my whole entire life was end my marriage, if I'm being honest, which obviously I broke up our family. And I think there were times within the first 6 months where, I did think, have I done the right thing? It's a big thing. I knew I'd done the right thing, but the guilt surrounded by that, the children getting upset, I'll never forget those moments. But fast forward 5.5 years, it was the right thing I did, the right thing to do for me and for the children. They're happy and secure now. But yeah, that's probably it, to be honest. And
in that period, it was hard to continue with business? Or do you think the business gave you escapism of you could be Lucy in that moment?
I had a lot more time on my own. Obviously, once the children were in bed, I was then able to work as much as I wanted, and sort of had a bit of a new outlook on life, I guess. I think I'd made that big decision. I'd done that, so it couldn't really get any worse from there. The only way was up. So, yeah, I think the business probably did flourish for me being on my own and working out who I was. I've come a long way mentally in the last 5 years. Just across the board with work. I manage stress and everything a lot easier because it's just on me.
Yeah, it's now no dependence.
That's quite normal in business where you've got a partnership and one person has a slightly different vision.
Yeah.
And there's also a safety valve from other people, and you often get one person working harder than another. And that's quite common in partnerships where where one just wants to go down one avenue. So I think that's quite normal. It's quite a normal thing to happen in business. And in a way, it's like having two captains. When you're on a ship, there's one captain. And when you're in partnership, there's also two captains. And that's slightly different. So I think that's quite normal for...
Yeah, it's tough. I think I'm the control freak, admittedly.
Showing up for work. Well, it's good when you run a festival.
Yes.
Especially with an EMP of that size.
But Joe, my business partner, we are on the same page. We're both as driven as each other. And it works. It really works as a business partnership because his ideas are as mad as mine. And when we look at break-evens of things and we're like, oh, gosh, that's a lot of money. And then we're like, it's fine. We'll make it work. We'll do it. And it happens. And it so far, so good.
Go guesses. Definitely.
So, yeah. Yeah, that's it. We'll take you up there.
Listen, Luce, thanks so much for coming in. Lovely to hear about your journey.
Thank you.
And really exciting. We're looking forward to what's happening next, the new restaurants. And
yeah.
We'll be at the opening.
We haven't discussed this, have we?
We haven't discussed this, but that's coming.
Podcast 2.
Podcast V2.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
The craziness. Thank you.
So, wow, that was, it's so refreshing when you meet people and they just go for it and just create fantastic businesses. Really exciting. Isn't there a theme that how people struggle when they start their business and having children? And wow.
What I noticed about interviewing with our guests is that there is a common theme that the support mechanism that's beside you, whether that's best friend, family member, partner, if that's not correct, that has to change. So it's quite interesting about the alignment because you need the support system that understands, empathizes, and has your back when you're going through this, because the dark times are hard by yourself, but you need a little bit of glimmer and support around you. It's really interesting that some of our guests have actually changed partners, they've, moved cities, they've gone to different areas, and actually that's probably because of the alignment. And that does change throughout times in your life. I just think it's so inspiring to see our founders who are having children, businesses pre-children, post-children, that they're doing exactly that. And it's just amazing. 100 years ago, this would not have been happening. I think we've really given freedom of our space to be able to inspire people to have a business, to have a go. And that's the question, is it? What's the worst that can happen? And I know one of our guests, a really good friend of mine, Gillian, had that conversation with us. Like, what is the worst that will happen? So let's try. Let's go for it.
And so they've got the courage to do it in the first place. And even if their support system is not there, somehow they manage and get through it. But it would have been a lot easier if they'd had a great support system. Yeah, and I remember feeling the same. Yeah, I'm struggling when we spoke before about what role models. And of course, if you haven't got a role model, then that is really tough.
Well, even harder if you do have a role model and then you have to convince them, because the first 30 ideas I gave you, I stopped telling you them after. Just did them. I think with Lucy, it was lovely and I feel really proud. I mean, I do know her well. I feel so proud of not just the journey she's been on, like the highs, the lows, the divorce, the children, and watching her be confident in business decisions and now international. And also her business partner, Joe, is a very good friend of mine. And I just think they smashed it. And it's so lovely to celebrate people in general in the business community, but especially of both of them that both have big families and super well loved. And I just feel a really warm sense of pride when I look at that business.
And there was a time there where she spoke about having the children on the phone and then taking them into there.
Sounds like me.
You just do it. You just do it because it's all that you can do.
Well, I was going to ask her if it was cheap labour. I think the babies are too small, but it wasn't after your lesson of counting money. So we've all been there. So
it's great, isn't it? Great getting these little insights and lessons and everything. It's fantastic. And I hope that the exit and strategy goes, or succession planning goes well for them.
Well, we'll definitely have a follow up with them. We'll have a lunch, and we'll make sure that we can give them a hand where we can.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
Well done, you. Well, thank you ever so much for watching, and we hope we've brought you an insight into some of the problems and successes that you can have and fun being in business.